I suspect, after that victory of a really good battle between the Algarve and Central Portugal, and it was 70-30 in the end. None of this 52-48 business. We have a winner in the form of Jerry going through with Central Portugal. Commiserations to runner-up Paul, who did a great job, and it's well worth watching. If you didn't see it tonight, I suspect after that, well worth watching the presentations from both gentlemen, esteemed gentlemen representing Algarve and Central Portugal, with a whole list of places to go and things to do. Really good presentations. Anna's back from California. She's with us tonight, and an illustrious dream team tonight. So in no particular order, let me introduce you to them all. Let them introduce themselves to you. Let's go to Charlene first. I believe in the capital. How are you doing, Charlene?
I'm doing very well, thank you. And yourself?
Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. The adrenaline is still coursing through my veins. And who is this with you?
My partner Carlos. So yeah,
Hi, Carlos.
Nice to meet you all.
Great, Brazil. Tell us a little bit about what you do, please.
We do wonders.
Excellent. Everybody's in the right. It's a place that the dream team and miracles are being worked. How exactly, Carlos?
So we are exclusive buyers agents. So we help the buyers, potential buyers, find their dream home in Portugal.
Excellent stuff. Okay, excellent to have you here this evening. We also have Daniel Dotteres tonight from Reis and Pelicano. How are you, Daniel?
Hello. Good evening from Lisbon.
Good evening from Lisbon. What's going on? What's happening in the capital?
Well, I was just seeing the announcement out of the president, and I was just on the fence if he was going to dissolve the parliament and call new elections, but he didn't. So, but he said that he is going to keep an eye out for the government, so they have their close watch. So let's see the next steps. It has been a few days that it sounded like House of Cards or Game of Thrones. So it was fun to watch politics these days.
It's a big deal, isn't it? Let's face it. For some of us who are not so well versed in Portuguese politics, what is the coalition collapsing, and great pressure being brought upon the Prime Minister to call an election so they can put his money where his mouth is?
At the current moment, we don't have a coalition. We have a single party government, and they have the full majority in the parliament. So throwing down the government would be actually a serious deal, and the president would have a problem on his hand if a clear majority wouldn't come out of the elections. So that probably is a reasoning to not call new elections. But a minister did, someone working for a minister did a boo-boo. He stole a computer or something like that, and with confidential information. And it was mayhem at the ministry, and what the president said was that that minister should go, and the prime minister said no. So they had a row between the two of them, and it was fun to see that House of Cards episode. Let's see the next episodes.
Okay, that's exciting stuff. Let's go. Thank you for being here, Daniel. So Daniel can address anything to do with law and the legal system here in Portugal this evening. Correct. So if you have any questions of that kind, get them in the chat straight away. Let's get them in the chat straight away. Let's not wait till the end when we're running out of time, everybody. Let's go to fellow Portuguese citizen. Whilst this political heat is being felt by Senor Costa, what do you make of this, Nuno? Good evening to you.
Evening, everyone.
Great to have you. The man from the insurance world, the king of insurance, we could say. What do you make of this? What do you make of this, Nuno, this political situation? I mean, a lot of this has stemmed from the housing crisis. Mais habitação, right?
If you want me to talk about political, I should say enjoy Portuguese bureaucracy, which is much better rather than talking about politics.
Crikey, that's quite the comparison, isn't it? Okay, all right. I won't push you any further. Suffice to say, you are here to answer any questions about insurance here for the journey coming to Portugal with your D7 visa, and then when you're here, all those insurance products and services that you'll need thereafter. Nuno is your man. Any questions you've got about that, please put them in the chat. In Lisbon, possibly from Serenity, Dr. Michael, how are you? You weren't looking so great or feeling so great last week, were you, Michael?
Yeah, you know, doctors get sick from time to time.
Yes, understood. But are you feeling better?
Absolutely so.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that.
All good.
And here from Serenity to answer any medical concierge questions. Anything from your world that you would like to report to us tonight?
Not in particular, actually. Nothing happened. Everybody's happy. Everybody's healthy. So we're good.
That's the news we want from the world of medicine, isn't it? No news is good news. So thank you very much for being here. If you have any questions about the Portuguese medical system, Dr. Michael Averbuk is your man. Let's go to Henry Kent now. Good evening to you, Henry, a colleague of Jason Swan from Holborn, of course, Holborn Assets. How are you this evening? And just how exciting is this golden visa thing at the moment?
It is. It's very exciting. And thank you very much, Carl. It's my first time here, so it's a pleasure meeting with everyone. Yeah, very exciting. There's a small window of opportunity. It seems that it's sort of now or never with the golden visa. So I'm sitting here for Jason because he's busy to just sort of hammer that home tonight.
Yes.
That it's sort of now or never territory with it.
Well, I imagine Jason is either doing a presentation or lying down in a darkened room right now.
Yeah, it's one or the other, eh?
Sharing, yeah, because it's an intense time. So if you have any golden visa questions, Henry's your man here tonight to answer those. Anything you want to tell us about that? I mean, you know, this window of opportunity, how quickly do people need to move?
Well, it seems that the earliest that it could be the 1st of July. The latest could be the end of the year, by what it has come out and what I'm being told. So yeah, a very small window of opportunity, but it's no longer the time frame of submitting the application. It's more so the qualifying properties and developments that are now available. There's a very small amount left. So yeah.
All right. Thank you for being here. Any golden visa questions for the dream team? Well, namely Henry Kent here from Holborn Assets. He's here to answer those. Thank you very much indeed. Let's go to Peter von Noonan, who I think is in central Portugal, victorious central Portugal, through for the best region of Portugal tonight. How are you doing, Peter?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you, Carl. Yeah, I think it's quite an honor to be at this lovely region tonight, right? Having the spotlight on it. That's great. No, all good. Lining up a lot of visits for the coming next week with different clients from the US, from UK, next week Switzerland. Yeah, so all good to go, and lots of exciting stuff.
Helping them to find homes here in Portugal. Yep. You probably need a copy of Jerry's presentation. That will seal the deal for sure.
That will help. I'll catch up with Gary afterwards. Definitely.
Fantastic. Good to have you here. You have a home, of course, in central Portugal and in the capital, so you know Portugal really well. And available to go to Azores or Madeira. Really necessary for people. Superb. Okay.
Yeah. So we cover the entire country, which looks a bit small on the map, but as we all know, there's a lot of variety in terms of culture, nature, climate zones. So yeah, we are happy to do it all. And as I told you last couple of times, we try to focus a bit, but then we got lost again, and we just decided to go on with our biased advocacy for the entire country. It's just
too tempting, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely. A beautiful place to explore with your clients. Thank you for being here, Peter. Let's go to the world of currency now, and a little bit of an update, and I think a glowing testimonial. Good evening to you, Sarah. How are you?
Good evening, everyone. Great to be here.
And how's it going?
Yeah, good. Thank you. I suppose really just a short update really on the currency. Not too much of movement. We've sort of really been moving, unfortunately, in the direction of the euro strengthening against and the US dollar weakening. What I would say is that we're speaking to a few customers that might think, well, I don't need to move just yet. I don't need to think about this. But ultimately, that is the trend at the moment, that it is unfortunately moving a little bit against you. If you're moving in 6 to 12 months time, that can really have an impact on your budget. So it's definitely worth thinking about it sooner than you think you will. Certainly doing the research, we can help manage those budgets and just help make the property cheaper if you're renting, or if you're buying a property, or if you're moving. Whatever you're doing is that you're working on an exchange rate now, and that'll be obviously out of date when you're trying to do it in 6 or 12 months time. There might be things that we can help buy the currency in advance for you. We've had a lot of customers that bought euros with us last year, and they're not moving to Portugal till this year. You might not have a Portuguese bank account open yet. That's not needed. We can hold the Eurozone account for you free of charge. But again, it's just a way of trying to manage your budgets and manage these exchange rate fluctuations that are happening at the moment.
Great. So very helpful when it comes to buying those euros. Have you got that testimonial to hand, or shall I come back to you a bit later on?
I'll come back later on now.
Okay, you have a glowing testimonial from an Expats Portugal member about your service, which is great to hear. In the throng here, I can't see at the moment anybody here from EI. If you are here, a representative of EI, can you push your way to the front of the crowd here and make yourself known to me? We'll go to the first question in the meantime.
We have Carolina.
Of course we do.
Yes, I'm here.
Carolina, good evening to you. I'm so sorry. The view I've got, it's crowded here with the dream team tonight. Carolina, good evening to you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
I'm very well. What is it you do over there at EI? Please share your part of the organization with everybody tonight.
Yes, I work with Christina and Beatriz, my colleagues, and of course Gilda.
Yes,
and we do D7s,
right.
D7 and digital nomads.
Excellent stuff. Well, excellent to have you here tonight. We had a very interesting question brought over from the webinar before, the battle between the Algarve and Central Portugal. Somebody feared, and I'm paraphrasing now, I think it was Kevin saying with the continued and huge interest in Portugal, is there some talk of the D7 visa being limited in some way? Is that just a gossip that we don't need to hear, or is there some truth in that?
Until now, we only have seen like the strengthening of the division of the passive income from the active income.
Yeah,
they are now very strict about it.
Okay.
Other than that, normal as usual.
Okay, excellent to hear. So no restrictions from the government end, just a little bit stricter on some of the T's and C's. Good. Okay. Any news from CEF, the transformation from CEF to APMA? Have we got any news from the front line of migration from the EI office tonight or this week?
No news yet. Neither does the Portuguese government know. So how could be?
They're busy. I think they're a little bit distracted at the moment, aren't they? From what we've heard before this evening. So yes, understandably, no news coming from the front line of migration and CEF at the moment. How are things going with appointments?
Some countries are very difficult since like December until now as well, from the consulates, and from the CEF, still nothing open right now.
Amazing.
We have been struggling on getting appointments, but we are hopeful that they will open soon enough.
Okay, thank you, Carolina, for being here tonight. I'll love to Gilda, of course, and I hope you have news from Gilda's household about Mandela at around past today. So tell us later on. To Dr. Michael, then, does Serenity operate only in Lisbon or in other areas of Portugal? We're coming for a scouting trip, says Susie, and having you guys assist us is so important to us. Thank you. Can we tee this up, Dr. Michael, by saying what it is you'll be doing for Susie, and then do you do it all over Portugal?
I do not recall what is it that we're doing for Susie, but
oh yeah, sorry, I mean in general. But clients in general.
Yeah, okay. And even if I knew, I wouldn't tell.
Yes, well said. Good answer.
All right. So this is one. Second, what we do is actually hold people's hand in whatever and wherever, including all Portugal.
Okay.
Is concerning medical healthcare issues. Can be medical and healthcare clinical issues, and it can be medical and healthcare administrative issues, like registration with the national healthcare system, explanation how insurance, whatever insurance you choose to have, would really work for you. Helping you with your transformation of all your medical history into Portugal. Prescriptions, how do I find physicians? Whom do I see? How do I see? Do I go private or do I go public? All of these questions, we're here to answer first. And when you start your journey, literally to hold your hand through this whole process and not to leave you alone when it comes to healthcare.
Brilliant.
This is what we do.
There you go, Susie. That for everybody else, not specifically for Susie, is what Serenity do. And yes, to you specifically, Susie, that can happen all over Portugal, which comes as a great relief, I'm sure, to many people. I'm not sure about this one, Barak. Recently, I heard a person state that she apparently had phase 1 electricity and had to go through a bunch of hoops and a large expense to get her home upgraded to phase 3 electrical or 3-phase electricity. My question as we search for a home in central Portugal, is this a real issue? I've not heard anyone mention this anywhere. We have a buyer's agent, but she has not mentioned anything about it. None of the homes we have seen on Idealista has mentioned anything about phase 1 versus phase 3. We should probably start with the buyer's agents here, shouldn't we? Sometimes people need to upgrade their electricity and the current coming in so that they can have a toaster and a kettle on at the same time, let alone a hairdryer. But what would you say about this, Charlene and Carlos, for starters, on this phase 1 and 3-phase electricity and having to upgrade electricity coming into the home?
So the reason why probably the buyer's agent doesn't have that information is because the seller's agent doesn't have that information, and the buyer and the seller doesn't have any idea what they are talking about.
Yes.
And that's why we always recommend to all of our clients, when they are buying a second-hand house, is to have a home survey, to hire someone to do a home survey, understand if anything on the house may present any issue in the future, and the home survey will be able to tell you if you need to upgrade or not, the electrical part, the pipes, anything.
Yes.
And a good one will even tell you exactly what may cost you to have it upgraded.
Very good. Okay, that's a great solution and another reason to have a buyer's agent. Let's check in with Peter on that. Thank you, Carlos, for that. Peter, this thing of amperage and how it is sometimes, certainly you notice with an Airbnb, you got the kettle on, having your first cup of coffee of the day or tea, put the toaster on, and then maybe someone else in the household wants to dry their hair and the fuses go. What's that all about?
Yeah, that happens a lot, of course, but actually it's very easy to upgrade from, I don't know, let's say 3.4 to 6.9 to 15. It's a call to the EDP or to one of the other providers and making an appointment. The other thing from the upgrade from 1-phase to 3-phase is a different one, but just the amperage upgrade is relatively easy. Right. But that's, of course, something you should take into account when visiting homes, although a lot of people they don't open or they don't watch into this part at first. But depending on what your plan is with your new home, it's of course a topic that should be taken care of. But the upgrade itself is very, very easy.
Okay, so there you go. That's two separate issues and something people should know about, I think, coming to Portugal, because they're not likely to have encountered it. You can upgrade the level of current or the power coming into the home, but changing from 1-phase to 3-phase will be a different kind of upgrade. But of course, there will be contractors available, and getting the survey done will alert you to whether you need to get it done or not. Daniel, you were nodding. Did you have something to add to this as somebody who oversees the purchase of houses and selling of them?
I would say that usually having a 3-phase electricity is not necessary unless you're having a lot of equipment at home, and I would say professional equipment. The majority of the power lines or the houses in Portugal have 345, and this is indeed not that much if you want to have the kettle on and the boiler and air conditioning. So an upgrade to 690 is usually the thing that I do advise to the majority of my clients that buy a house. You can even have further amperage than this, as Peter said, but a 3-phase is usually if you have really heavy equipment, and that's not the norm in a house. It's usually for people that have a shop in the house, or they have a house and a shop and they have heavy equipment that will need more power. So it's not a common topic, and if the house has indeed 3-phase electricity, even better. If it doesn't, you'll need to hire someone to upgrade it. That's basically it.
Thank you for your input on that. Yeah, it's those people with workshops, isn't it, next to the house? And sometimes that is part of somebody's dream, isn't it, moving to Portugal, to have a workshop next to the house so they can do woodworking or metalwork or indulge in the hobby they've been dreaming of.
Carl.
Go on, Peter.
One thing to add here. Indeed, as Daniel is saying, it makes sense to just stay with one phase for normal living and then upgrade the amperage, as we were just discussing. Yeah. If indeed you are running, let's say, a big Airbnb or a little hotel, or having a pool with a pump and filters and stuff like that, then it makes sense to think about or to check if there is a 3-phase installation available. But just for normal living, it's just looking to the amperage.
Brilliant, thank you. Who knew that Barak's question would bring forth so much information? I hope that helps, Barak. That's really a comprehensive answer there. But if there's anything else you need to know, do ask. Ed and Sharon, great question. What insurance do I need, Nuno, to get when we move to Portugal? So this is after you've got here. What's available? What might they take advantage of through you, Nuno, after arrival?
After arrival, any kind of insurance. There are mandatory insurances like car, workers' compensation insurer to the maid, for example, that makes services to our houses. This is something that many people isn't aware of.
Right.
So all of the regular insurances, as well as some complex insurances like fine art, jewelry, specific and premium houses to insure. So we manage all of this.
Brilliant. So all the things you're aware of that you already insure in your country of origin, and then the things you don't know about, like insuring the tradespeople who come and work in your house. Are there any other surprises like that?
I don't know. As a Portuguese, many things. Yeah, because I'm living here since ever. So
yes,
many things are usual. So for me, aren't special, and I could not be aware that they must be special to you that are
totally
coming.
Get it. Yeah, you don't know what you don't know either, do you, about what people have elsewhere? Yeah. But that is certainly something that's come up, isn't it, in previous webinars? Like, what? I need to insure the workers coming to my house, the domestic help, builders even, who are, and garden maintenance people. You need insurance to cover those professionals.
Yes, and yes, it's true. But it's not only what kind of insurance is mandatory. We also provide some information about, for example, car insurance. There are
hello, we've got somebody unmuted there. I wonder if you could mute up for us. That would be really helpful.
Okay, so there are some specific information that is required. For example, car insurance, people must have some procedure regarding documentation. Also, they must use the vest, the yellow vest, if they stop with a problem in the car. Otherwise, the police could find you. To the health insurance, if you are looking to a doctor or facilities or lab nearby your location. So it's not only about the insurance itself, it's about everything that is around the insurance policy and the risk, mainly about risk.
All right, that's great. Let's stay with you because I think Gail had a question as well. Thank you for that, and I hope that helps you, Ed, there asking that question. Question, I think this is for you. In doing for you, Nuno, in doing research for our D7 visa appointment in early June, noticed that what has been called travel insurance is actually visa medical insurance. So does more than regular travel insurance covering regular medical coverage and not just emergencies? Can someone clarify this? Also see some plans can be paid monthly instead of yearly, as costs quite a bit to pay for a year or 6 months coverage at all. I think you've addressed this in the chat already, haven't you?
Yes, so the terminology that is used by the Portuguese government, and we can check this in their website, they talk about travel medical insurance for emergencies. So people think on health and sometimes may confuse with travel. And what is being required, and Carolina Cunha from EI could confirm this, is that to the first stage, so when we have the meeting, the appointment with the VFS, with the embassy or consulate, the requirement is travel insurance, but it's a travel insurance with some specific guarantees, no deductible, COVID-19 yet, covered, and so on and so on. After these, you will have the SEF appointment. And to the SEF appointment, the requirement is the health insurance. So travel insurance is paid once at a time, and because it's a temporary insurance, and the health insurance could be paid monthly, semestral, yearly, so depending on how you prefer. So basically is this.
Okay, Randy, I wonder if you could mute up for us. We keep having you come through. If you do have a question, by all means, ask it, but I think you're just unmuted there, and that's coming through when some of our speakers are talking. It'd be great if you could do that. Thank you, Carolina. Did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I confirm what he just said. It is just like that. I just have a note that the travel insurance, depending on each country, can have a different duration. But the roof is always the same. It's the 30K is the minimum coverage.
Okay.
But yeah, the timing is just different from like UK, USA, different timings.
Right. All right. Thank you for that clarification. Appreciate it. Let's stay with you. Good evening to Michael, Nubianet, and Vicky over on YouTube, and a question from Foreign Affair on YouTube. Hi, we've been waiting for more than 2 months for the embassy to give me back my passport for the digital nomad visa. They won't answer. They required a plane ticket. My trip is in 2 weeks. What should I do? That's a good question, isn't it?
Yes, I don't think they did the process with us, right?
Not sure.
So,
Foreign Affair, can you clarify if you did the process or not with EI? But that's a very difficult position to be in. The passport is still with with those offering the visa, but and they travel in 2 weeks' time. What can they do about that?
yeah, and what is their national? Are they applying in the USA?
Okay, we'll come back to you on that. I'll come back to you as well, Carolina, for that.
Okay.
Foreign Affair, I think we need a little bit more information about that. So come back to you, Carolina, in just a while. Noor, hello. Question about Dr. Michael, or for Dr. Michael. This is a classic question for you, Serenity. Do you help with obtaining the SNS utent on behalf of the client?
Yes, we are. You want the long version of yes, we are?
Well, we need to know what that means for other people, don't we? Utent, SNS. Can you
utent number is your registration number with the National Healthcare Service.
Yep.
SNS stands for Serviços Nacionais de Saúde. Forgive me, all the Portuguese, for the improper pronunciation.
Right.
Anyway, this is your gateway to all the services provided by the state, by the public service. And it's important to have it because, as I said before, this is your window to get treated. And the very important thing of it is that's the gateway to get your prescribed medications highly subsidized by the state, or sometimes even for free.
Yep.
Now, that happens, although as in Portugal, there are some conflicting informations or on different platforms, but practically speaking, the healthcare centers today provide SNS numbers as an SNS registry only after you have your residence card, not even the paper that states that you're approved. Nowadays, what we're seeing is that they demand the card. So practically what would happen, you go to SEF, get approved, you get your card. If you work with us, even before, start the process, and then we are sending on your behalf the request, reminding all of the involved people that they should treat it and get it at the end of the day. Not like in the past, nobody today is receiving a card from the SNS, from the National Healthcare Service, but rather only a number. And this number will go with you as long as you're a resident in Portugal.
Thank you very much. And you can help with it. Yep, and you help people get them. Superb. Okay, that's great news then for Noor, and I'm sure Michael will put the website address, which you can also find in the business directory at expatsportugal.com. Great stuff. Okay, there's quite a lot of talk, I think, about interest rates. Some of it speculation, some of it crystal ball stuff. What are you making of this, Sarah?
Oh, yeah, so you were right. Last year, the Fed aggressively raised interest rates, and that's how we saw that the US dollar strengthened. And it was a great time, obviously, for people to be buying their euros. It was near parity. But yes, they've halted that now. They're focused on the economy. Obviously, we've had sort of the collapse of the Silicon Valley Bank. Also, there's a few others that they're looking at sort of maybe at risk as well. The ECB are now looking at raising interest rates more aggressively and following a similar path to the Fed. They're probably a little bit slower to be doing that. Perhaps they should have started maybe last year, but they're focusing on that this year to curb inflation. And that's where we'll see the strength from the euro. If you raise interest rates, it will support the currency as well. So that's really what we're seeing at the moment. I mean, just to give you a bit of an idea, rate movements, if we look at sort of a 3-month period of this year, if you're buying 250,000 euros and you were selling US dollars, the difference was about 32,000 US dollars, and that's in 3 months just on a rate movement.
Okay, all right. And with a question such as, this is from Michael, we make 3.9% on our US savings. Are we better off making the interest or making it on the exchange to the euro now? Now, you're not your currency exchanges, aren't you? Not financial advisors.
No. So whether, where you put your money when it's moved to Portugal and what you do with that side of things, that's obviously out of our control. We're just focusing on the exchange rate, and obviously can give you that guidance on what the difference that could potentially make. And then it's obviously for you to decide whether you think that the gain that you could potentially make on the exchange rate is better than where you're keeping it, essentially.
There you go, Michael. Thank you, Sarah, for that. Allegra thinks you do a fantastic job. I've lost the specific testimonial, but the gist of it was, here it is. Spartan gives outstanding service, says Allegra. So there is a testimonial there. Do you have those other kind words that came through?
I do. How do I share that? How do I do that?
Read it out. Go ahead and just read it out if you want, and people can find it, I think, also on the Expats Portugal forum too. So what was said?
Fine. Yeah, it was a customer that was an Expats Portugal member. He left us a great review. Basically said, you Spartan FX of relocating to Portugal. We have been in the process of relocating to Portugal, buying a car, buying a home, etc. And Spartan FX had been wonderful. It is so very reassuring to have a real person to speak with when dealing with large financial transactions. I would recommend anyone in a similar circumstances to use Spartan FX.
Wow, isn't that great? And that is generally the idea here with the Dream Team. You can talk to the people you're going to be dealing with. That's the beauty of this session. You can ask them questions every Thursday evening at 9, and you have that personal service, certainly with Spartan and with Nunu. Which is unusual often in the world of finance and insurance, for example, and in medicine. I guess we can include that as well. These are industries which are going increasingly to call centers. Here you can see the Dream Team and talk to them on a Thursday night, and when you deal with them, you're dealing with real people, as that testimonial alluded to there. Thanks for the time being, Sarah. That's great. Daniel, I think this is for you. Ed and Sharon with a great question. If you purchase a condo or apartment, is the hydro separate or controlled by the building owner? Can I expand on that question when it comes to condominiums, how that works, what people can expect, whether they are buying their own services, managing their own services, or will some of this come under condominium management?
Well, it's not common in some places in Portugal or in Lisbon. You do have some hydro on the condominium or some heating on the condominium, but I would say that's not the norm in the country. So each condo has its own air conditioning unit or their own systems to heat up the place. So shared eating facilities are not common. What is usually common is shared expenses on the pool, if it does exist, shared expenses on cleaning, on electricity, and insurances and all that. What people can expect with the condos in Portugal is that the majority is not that well organized. And the people that do run the condominiums do like to do a bit of the minimal services. So if you need repairs on the property, you really need to push the condominium management to do so, as well as the other condominium unit holders, because everyone will need to chip in with a portion out of the expenses. And sometimes this is difficult, because you may have, or you may buy a property with some income disparity. So some people may not have available income to chip in with a lot of a big sum to do substantial repairs on a property. So some problems may arise on that. And usually by this time in April is where the majority of the condominium meetings are done, or at least the main annual one that needs to be done by law. And some of our clients do hire us to go and represent them, and it's fun, because something that can be discussed in half an hour, 45 minutes, it takes 3 hours, so it's mayhem. Take someone that speaks the language with you if you don't know how to speak Portuguese, or if you're not in the country, do hire someone to represent your interests in the condominium meetings, because if you're not there, if your voice is not heard, then the problems will not be sorted. That's basically my take on the condominium situation.
Good advice. Thank you, Daniel. And culturally, are many of these condominium associations made up of people who live there, or are they managing companies that come in and do it?
Well, I do have a personal example. This is the building where that my parents have, or not the building, the unit that my parents have in Lisbon, and it's run by the people inside the building. So they don't like to hire any third party. The majority of them are old people, and they like to just run the property on their own. Yeah. But my usual advice is that you should have a professional team hired to manage it, because otherwise things will not be done, and you'll face some pushback if the condominium manager at the time doesn't agree with some repairs. So having a third party that is not involved in the day-to-day life of the building, I would say it's a good idea. But even though hiring this third party, you will need to push that professional to have some work done in some instances. So it's one of the reasons that I did buy a detached house was not to deal with condominiums anymore. So I do live in my vivenda, as we would say in Portugal, just to avoid condominiums. But lucky me that professionally I do go to a lot of condominium meetings, because clients do ask me to represent them. And people can ask I cannot get away on the condominium stuff. It's
I think when anyone sat through 4 or 5 hours of condominium meeting, they're wishing they bought a detached property, aren't they? but you can get professional help and support from Daniel here, as he does for other people. Thanks, Daniel. Appreciate that. Shaheen, let's bring Henry back on. Could the new Parliament elections affect the Golden Visa termination decision? Okay, let's come to Henry, but let's stay with you for the moment, Daniel, because we'll have you on screen. Could a new government and Parliament maintain the Golden Visa? So okay, so it could just a new government, new ideas.
That's it. Well, if the Parliament, the law can only be changed by the Parliament. Yeah. Because this is enrolled in a law and not in a decree of law. So basically, to explain, you have the Constitution, then you have the law, and below this you have the decree of law that is produced by the government. As the migration law is a law, it needs to be approved in the Parliament. So if the president did dissolve the Parliament, and we would go to new elections, the Golden Visa would be on until further decision or further notice. And if the guys that are in power did not win the elections, probably the Golden Visa would stay in place for a few more years. So that's why I was just seeing the news on 8 o'clock to see if the president would dissolve the Parliament or not. I was curious. I was not expecting him to do that. But yes, that was my main interest on the situation, because if the government went down, then the Golden Visa situation would be cleared, at least for the moment.
How exciting. And no wonder you're watching closely. And I'm tempted to ask you more. Just very briefly, Daniel. The Prime Minister is resisting. There are calls for an election, and this is the sort of posturing that goes on, isn't it? To clarify, call an election. Let's see how many of the people agree with you. Will they re-elect you on that basis? How likely do you think that is?
Well, for the time being, with what the president has said just a few hours ago, I would say it's not likely in the next 3-4 months. But we do have a big political role because of TAP, the airline that is owned by the government or by the Portuguese state. And if they do discover anything nasty on that commission, because they have a special commission investigating what happened in TAP, if they do find out something that is, I would say, a political disaster, this may be the final tipping of the government, and they may be dissolved by the president. So depends a bit if we have a serious political scandal in the next 4 to 6 months. That is the at least crystal ball gazing, that is my prediction. If something really nasty happens in the next 6 months, the president will pull the rug and will take the plug out and call new elections.
Both nice political analogies. Thank you very much for your view on that, Daniel. Appreciate that. Let's go to Stuart, because this is a very interesting insight and share here. Thank you, Stuart. And thank you for your question that we concluded the previous battle on the last webinar with. Spent weeks, says Stuart, months working on bank account opening online. Despite great help from the bank, it was very painful. In the end, we got documents notarized, but the Irish government would not apostille due to UK passports. My goodness. Visited Eurobic Lagos today, however, and a very nice lady sorted everything in 30 minutes. Moral of the story is sort it out in person, much less stress than online. So let's go to Carolina. I've got a few questions for you and clarifications here, Carolina, but the bank account situation, would you agree with Stuart? So much easier to do it here in Portugal.
Yes, in person, it takes half an hour.
Yes.
Remotely, like minimum a month with luck, but usually 2 months.
Right. Okay. So definitely do it in person. 30 minutes. That's one signature per minute, though, isn't it? With all those signatures you have to do.
Yeah, and reading the paperwork and getting a staff in the bank that speaks English.
Yeah. Okay. But point taken there. So much better. And thank you, Stuart, for making that point. Do it on your scouting trip if you can. Anything from your end, Carolina, on this whole business of opening bank accounts? Have you made allies in banks and made it easier at all?
Yes, of course. For how long we have been on the market, we have already made friends.
Yes.
But yes, we have some partners for remote opening banks and in person as different ones. Yeah. So depending on the situation of the person, it's always like a specific evaluation. So we always make that judgment.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that. We've got some clarification on the missing passport. It was Peru. What's your experience of working with the Peruvian office?
I know that they are a little bit slow, but 60 days is the estimated time. So that I think the person mentioned.
Yes, 2 months.
So again, I can only speak on general terms because I don't think the process was made with us. But again, if the person wants help to intervene, they can always contact and send an email to us. I can put on the chat the email, but it's geral @eimigrante.pt, and we can always make one of our lawyers intervene to the consulate and asking for an update, what's wrong. But I cannot. We have like a Portuguese expression, like I can put my hands on the fire, because I've not seen the documents. I've not validated the visa if the person really meets the criteria. So I don't know if the CEF is taking a lot of the consulate is taking a lot of time because of, I don't know, bureaucracy or the process itself. So yeah.
Excellent. Okay, well, thank you. Putting your hands on the fire. Is that one of the questions that Gilda asked at the interview? Are you prepared to put your hands on the fire? And if you say yes, I'm sure that really helps. That's what you all do there at the office, I think, every day.
Oh yeah, we have to put our hands in the fire for what we believe and what we have done. It's like to take responsibility for what we have put our name in. So yes.
Excellent. Okay. Foreign Affairs does continue. They have a dual nationality, it would seem, applying from Peru, have dual citizenship, Peruvian American, applying with my Peruvian passport. Since the embassy is taking more than 2 months in Peru, can I travel to, okay, so here's an important question. Can I travel to Portugal and wait there to see if my digital nomad application gets approved? My trip is in 2 weeks, but I don't have my passport. So is it wise for them to come to Portugal anyway?
Depends if the consulate, the Peruvian consulate, the Portuguese in Peru got his passport. I assume that he only has his American passport. I don't know if he would have trouble there on the country itself, but in Portugal, there's no problem to just like, it would be a usual American citizen doing tourism. But inside of Peru, I can't speak on that because I don't know if, also I don't know if he also signed. Sometimes the consulates present like a declaration.
Yep.
And I don't know if he signed it or not, saying that, I don't know, some sort of self-declaration that he made on not leaving. It's rare, but sometimes it happens.
Okay, all right. So a call to the office would be quite useful.
Let me just jump in on this
Please,
call.
Daniel, thank you.
Because the idea of having the traveling to Portugal and coming to Portugal with the American passport, I don't see any problem with that. But do be advised that you'll need to get back to Peru and to pick up the passport, the Peruvian passport, and enter the country with that passport, because you'll need a stamp in the Peruvian passport to then obtain the residency permit, because otherwise you'll be in a world of hurt if you indeed have someone to pick up the passport and send the passport to Portugal, because if you don't have an entry stamp in the Peruvian passport, the one that has the visa, they may not issue the residency permit once the booking comes. This was something that happened back in the days when I was working with EI. So I don't advise the clients to come if they're not planning to go back to Peru and have the passport picked up in hand. If they're planning to do this, for sure, do it by all means, but do be advised that you'll need to get back to Peru. Because an entry stamp on the Peruvian passport is mandatory to obtain the residency permit, okay? This was just my take from past experiences working with these cases in EI.
Thank you very much for that, Daniel. That's really helpful. Yeah, and that benefit there, obviously, of having dual two passports or dual nationality for that particular person, foreign affair. But would recommend a call to EI and get some help, professional help with that foreign affair. Let's stay with you, Carolina, if we may. We have a question from Shalini on YouTube. For family reunification. Okay, so generally speaking, can you say a little bit about family reunification? What's going on in that department?
Okay, so from Portugal, so a step back. Since November, the government invented the new visa for the family accompanying the holder of the visa.
Yep. And
that visa is working very fine. We have been having a lot of success for the wife, the husband, the children coming from the origin country, but this is again very new. A step forward in Portugal, if the person did not do that step previously and just are here and wants to do the family reunification with the person holder of the residence permit, we need to wait for the openings of the appointments, which have been taking a lot of time. I don't think this year they have opened yet. I think I don't remember. It's always a trouble, the family reunification, but yes, we need to wait for the openings, and then when they do open, we call non-stop and book them. And then our service consists of one of our lawyers go with the person, prepare all the documentation, because the person needs to have like a few documents from the origin country, and of course Portuguese documents as well. And then they go with the person to the SEF appointments.
Very good. Okay, I think again with Shalini, without going into too much detail, as you've shared on YouTube there, perhaps a call to the EI office. A office would be very useful for you, as with the foreign affair there. I wouldn't be forgiven if I didn't ask you this. How is Mandela doing? Have we had word through from Gilda about Mandela's well-being?
No, I can't speak with Gilda yet. Gilda is outside of Portugal.
Right. Okay. So we can assume that Mandela is with his favorite dog sitter and being thoroughly pampered, and will be a bit depressed and badly behaved when Gilda comes back. That's the pattern.
Yes, I think he's going to be a little bit mad with Gilda for leaving
That's what
him.
we're used to. Yep, absolutely. Unless she brings him back a really nice present. Well, team, we've only got 8 minutes to go on the Dream Team session. Thank you all. I didn't get back to Henry. And I think what we'll do tonight, instead of like a specific question, we asked everybody what their favorite pastry was last week, but I don't think we got time with so many of the Dream Team here. I would like a closing remark or two from all of you on the Dream Team. Let's start with Henry, picking up on that golden visa idea that if a new government comes, the legislation might change. In the meantime, you're just cracking on with it, right, Henry?
Yeah, indeed. That's the difficulty with it at the moment. There's no clarity surrounding the situation. So it's making life very, very difficult. But for us, it's business as usual. Applications are still being submitted. Holborn as well, we have implemented rules that if anyone does miss the deadline before submitting their application, then a full refund on any fees and deposits paid as well. So it's an opportunity here to make the most of.
All right, that's fantastic. Thank you for being here.
Cheers, Carl.
If people want to reach out to you, please put your details in the chat so that we can move on and talk to Sarah at Spartan FX. Your closing remarks tonight, Sarah?
Just really that we've got a moving money to Portugal guide, so people might be interested in that. If you're at early stages, I'll put the link in the chat.
Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you very much indeed. Let's go to Daniel. Your closing comments this evening, Daniel.
Well, I'll accompany Henry's words. If you want a golden visa, rush, because it's the final window. If your plan is indeed to obtain a residency permit in Portugal that allows you not to live in the country, this is the time. It's now or never.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And while we're with you, and given the excitement, the political excitement we've been talking about tonight, for expats who want to keep an eye on this, what would you recommend as the best news source? It's we've got the Portugal News and the Portugal Resident, which are the English language news sources, but they tend to be a day or two responding to what's going on. What would be the easiest access for an expat looking at a Portuguese news site?
Well, I do usually consult about 4 different newspapers online. One of them is publico.pt. Or public, the translation. The other one is Expresso. The other one is Observador, and the other one is O Novo, so the new. They are basically 2 newspapers a bit more on the left side and 2 newspapers a bit more on the right side to have some balance. And try to get the bias out of the news, or try to navigate the bias out of the news. And those are the ones that I do consult daily.
Okay, and a right click on Google, and people are going to, if their Portuguese isn't up to it, as it probably wouldn't be in more of a highbrow newspaper, they can do a right click, get an English translation, and just get a gist of what's going on.
That's it. Right. That's my advice.
All right, that's great. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. See you again soon. Let's go to Peter von Noonan now, in no particular order. How are you doing, Peter? What are your closing comments tonight?
Yeah, all still very good here, Carl. Thank you. So, yeah, indeed, despite of all the turmoil around the visas, I think it's just always a very good time to look at Portugal, right? Golden visas, D7, D2, whatever, what have you, or lots of people that even don't need a visa. I think what we experience still for the last couple of months into the new year is a lot of people really happy to look at places here in Portugal, not only central Portugal, but throughout the entire country. Yeah, it's about quality of life. It's about happy people, fresh air. So despite of all the good things, you know, it's just the right time to have a look at this and to make that decision. And of course, we here at the Dream Team, we can all have our expertise to help people from all over the globe to have a good place here in Portugal, wherever that may be.
And it's all relative, isn't it? Because, you know, we were talking about the politics, and people, I think in the United States and the UK were saying, well, you should see what it's been like here for the last few years. These things are happening all over the world, and Portugal is representing itself very, very, very well in relative terms, isn't it? And continues to do so.
Exactly. And just tonight, you know, it's full moon all over the place. But believe me, here in Portugal, it's even better.
And you get a great view of the full moon in central Portugal, folks, where there aren't too many street in places. So thank you for that, Peter. Dr. Michael, your closing comments, please.
Didn't see the full moon, but yeah.
Does it have an effect on people medically? Would you say
it does? It does.
Okay, all right. There we go. We have it confirmed.
Yeah. It's not a story. It does. Anyway, as I always say, and I see here a lot of new names, new faces. I think seems like right.
Yeah, definitely.
Am I correct?
Yes, for sure.
So, guys, whoever didn't hear me yet, hear me out. Plan ahead. Plan ahead. It will help you with everything. It will, of course, help you with healthcare. But really, plan ahead. Ask all the people on this forum all the questions that you need. Get the right information and get prepared. That would actually make it all much easier.
Get your ducks in a row. Yeah, okay. Good advice. Thank you very much there, Dr. Michael. Fascinating stuff about the full moon. And thanks for pointing that out, Peter, as well. Another story for another time, perhaps, Michael. Let's go to Nunu now. How full moony are you feeling tonight, Nunu? And your last words, please.
So, final words.
It's good. You're a scout, aren't you? You're a scout. Isn't it good to go camping when there's a full moon? So much better.
Oh, yes. And I was on a bushcraft camping this last weekend. And yes, we don't need to use a lamp to see.
How lovely in the
moon
countryside.
was enough. Yeah.
Fantastic. Final words in summary, Nunu?
So some final words based on the last webinars. So address must be changed in 30 days. Address must be changed on due to the IRS, to the finances.
Yep.
But tax office, they don't allow it. They are not allowing it. We must change driver's license at the IMT, but IMT don't reply. Travel insurance is for the period of the stay in Portugal until CEF's meeting, but embassies require 1 year period, some of them. The government did a new home legislation, but not yet. CEF isn't TF anymore, but is still CEF after 2 years long. Healthcare is free in Portugal, but you aren't able to get it easily. Even though we are alive and all of us live a happy life in Portugal. So this is about...
What an amazing list. Now, the point to be made there, I think, is to take none of this personally. It is not a conspiracy against you as somebody who's trying to move to Portugal. These are the trials and tribulations of the Portuguese people themselves as well often. And so when it does get difficult, don't take it too personally. Reach out to the professionals here and get that sort of help. Thank you for your compassion there, sharing the pain of the Portuguese people, and to have people know that that's what's going on as a background. Cheers, Nuno. Thank you very much. Charlene and Carlos, your final words tonight.
Well, I can start again. It was a pleasure to be at this meeting for the first time. Charlene was already here a couple of times, but for me it was the first. I see that Expat is building a really nice and comprehensive dream team that for sure will have anyone that may need our help in any type of help required. For sure, there will be at least one professional that can help. And it will be a pleasure to share a little bit of my country, the country where I live in, where I was born, with whoever chooses this country as their heart country.
Oh, beautiful.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. What a lovely invitation and closing words. They're great to meet you, and we'll see you again soon, I'm sure. Now, I think it's safe to go to finally, and last but by no means least, the Deputy Queen of the Visas tonight, Carolina. Great job. And there was the reiteration of that question about restrictions on the D7 visa. That is not the case, is it? In some instances, the particular T's and C's are getting a little stricter, but there is no sort of governmental level restriction on the D7 visa first and foremost.
No. We have not seen nothing. Everything has gone smoothly, and we hope it continues that way. And adding on what was said before, even if someone, if the golden visa shuts down and someone wants to actually live in Portugal for more than 15 days, D7 or digital nomad visa are great options, and we are here to help them achieve them.
Wonderful final words. And that was reassurance there from Jennifer, who was asking about the D7 being discontinued. That is a vicious rumor that's going around. And I understand why people start to think that. And, you know, the Facebook groups have a role to play in these sorts of things. But you've heard it there from Carolina Cunha from EI tonight. Thank you so much for being here. Did you want to add anything else, Carolina?
Glad to be here. Thank you for welcoming. So great.
Great job tonight. Say hi to everybody in the EI office for us. Over to you, Jerry, I think, for a final word.
Yeah, well, thank you, everyone. Carl, how lucky are we to be able to work with this wonderful team of people? Oh, isn't this such a pleasure, Carl? Don't you agree?
It's been amazing tonight. It's been amazing. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah. I'm not sure that we should put Nino forward as the next ambassador for Portugal, but that aside, what a wonderful meeting. Thank you all so much. And thank you to the newbies for breaking the ice, and you're very welcome, and we're delighted to have you on board. Our dream team will be back again next Thursday at the same time at 9 p.m. But before that, we have on Saturday night, also at 9 p.m., our social with the wonderful Connie, who's lurking down there, I can see, but not on camera. Connie will be ably assisted by her junior trainee apprentice IT assistant, Hank, and we'll be discussing all things about life in Portugal, and no doubt the best beer and the best wine and stuff like that. And then earlier next Thursday, before the Dream Team session at 9 o'clock, we'll be meeting with Architects Crad Studios and discussing the process of building a new house in Portugal or renovating an older house and the potential costs of that. So that should be a cracker. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Jerry, and congratulations on your victory in the semi-final. Over to you for your final words of encouragement and your catchphrase.
Thanks, Carl. I think actually it wasn't that difficult. Central is the best part of Portugal to live in. We all know that, except Anna has some, Anna likes the Algarve, but she only ever goes there for a holiday. She doesn't live there. No, where does she live? Central.
That champion testosterone is still clearly pumping from Central Portugal. Well done,
so thank you, everybody, and we'll see you in Portugal. Good night.